everybody, and welcome back. I'm continuing the build project for the Aber dinghy. I know it's been a long time since I posted some videos on here. Well, the whole point of this channel and documenting this project was to be realistic about what it's like to build a dinghy for the first time as a novice. Sometimes things take longer than expected. I guess this is the takeaway from this whole experience. Make sure you're building your boat somewhere that it can be there for a while, unless you really need the deadline to help motivate yourself to get it done. So today I'm going to be showing some video footage from finishing up the false stem. It's basically a second stem that gets laminated onto the outside of the hull once the planking is completed. So here we go. Here we're laminating strips of Doug fir together using epoxy and a mold that we created that is the correct shape of the false stem. So when we set up the mold, it's really important to cover everything with packing tape, and also we did one extra layer of the laminate that was also covered in packing tape, and this allows you to actually get the lamination off of the mold without it sticking, and also that extra layer prevents the clamps from digging into your actual finished piece. So this is the false stem, which is going to get beveled and sit right on here. At the bow of the boat, the shear strake needs to be the same width as the stem. So this is going to have to taper in to that thickness. Back about 12 inches and started tapering down the thickness with the plane from that distance back towards the bow. So really the biggest problem with this whole part of the process was that the construction frame was pretty wobbly, and I'm not really sure what level of bracing would prevent that from happening. But you know, the hull was completely assembled at this point, so the fact that it was wiggling around wasn't going to make the boat somehow crooked. It's just kind of annoying to work on. So here you can see light through the crack between the hull and the stem. So I just kind of marked out where it was a little too high and started trimming it down. The reason why I'm using the orbital sander here, which is not my preferred way to go, is because when I try and plane this, there's so many different grains going on through here, different directions of grains, that it just starts catching and grabbing and chipping inevitably somewhere in here. So I don't like the orbital sander because it can really like round things over this way and it's really sloppy, but it's just, I've just been kind of having a hard time figuring out how to take off wood precisely through this zone with the tools that I currently have. To be honest, I'm not entirely committed to this shape on the stem. I decided to do this kind of transition here, see how I like it on the boat, and then if I decide to change it later, I can always go back and just make the bevel go all the way up to the top of the stem instead of doing this transition. But for now, I think I'll try it this way. I saw one example of an Aber that was beautifully done, and it had this feature, and I thought, well, we'll see how I like it, and then I can always bevel the rest of it later on if I want to. So I realize watching me chisel away at the stem here is probably not the most exciting bit of entertainment that you could be watching. But anyways, the angle on the front of the stem was, a little bit tricky to carve, just where the transition happens between the lower section that's cutting through the water and the upper section, which is just basically the square profile up above, way above the water line, where the stem joins into the shear strake. So the trickiest part really was just getting that curve kind of like carved out, because obviously it's just a little bit tight through there and you can't get the spoke shave up too close. It's just time consuming, but it was actually kind of enjoyable, relaxing process to work on. So whenever I'm about to do any kind of gluing on a big piece like this, I like to put the pilot holes in first so I know that the registration is right where it needs to be, so that when everything's all slippery and covered with glue, once those screws get in the holes, everything's going to be lined up right. And here I'm just wiping everything down with acetone just to make sure it's clean and there's no sawdust, so that the glue will bond really well. So I beveled the false stem all the way up to a certain point, and then I left it unbeveled because I just didn't know how the false keel was going to intersect with that once I glued it on, because the part of the stem is going to get chopped down. So I decided I'd just do all that later. From a craftsmanship standpoint, I know this looks a little bit rough, but the benefits of building a glue laminated construction is that if you're new to all this, like me, you can really solve a lot of this with fairing compound. Later on, I can clean up all these various intersections, and I think it'll turn out really nicely. And I don't, while I'm learning how to do the craftsmanship side of things, I'm not totally reliant on it to get a good result, because I know I can clean all this up later. Okay, well that's all we had time for today. Next time I'm going to post a video of the assembly of the false keel that goes along the bottom of the boat on the outside of the construction. It's fun to be back editing these videos, and I appreciate everyone's comments and questions about what's happening, what's going on with the project, and basically we're just continuing on here. And yeah, it's been fun to pick back up now that I'm getting more time to do so. So anyways, I'll see y'all next time. Take care. Bye.